my name's Josh. I'd just like to share a handful of lessons I think we can all learn from the Wright brothers. When Wilbur and Orville Wright managed to build and fly an airplane, you might imagine that the world was immediately dazzled and amazed by their achievement, but you'd be wrong. As David McCullough writes in his book, The Wright Brothers, which we read in class, many of the most prominent engineers, scientists, and original thinkers of the 19th century had been working on the problem of controlled flight. Without success, the endeavor was fraught with hazards that included humiliating failure, injury, and of course death, but also the inevitable prospect of being mocked as a crank, a crackpot, and in many cases with good reason. I just want to share a few lessons I think everyone can benefit from the Wright brothers. So lesson one is don't worry about failure. John T. Daniels, who witnessed their first successful flight, said later that it wasn't luck that made them fly. It was hard work and common sense, and they put their whole heart and soul and all their energy into the idea, and they had the faith. Lesson two is have a publicity plan, but don't expect success. The brothers had a pre-existing plan to alert the media when they finally achieved success. It involved notifying newspapers and the Associated Press, which they did. A ton of largely inaccurate accounts appeared in some newspapers, and the story almost immediately disappeared. Lesson three is keep going no matter what. Fortunately, the brothers were not obsessed with their media attention, but they were obsessed with their idea. So they kept trying to improve and test their machines. Locals and local media either ignored them or felt sorry for them. One editor recalled that they seemed like well-meaning, decent enough young men, yet there they were, neglecting their business to waste their time and day on that ridiculous flying machine. As they enjoyed one success after another, almost no one believed them or took notice. Today, we understand the immense importance of airplanes to our society and economy, but in those days, almost no one had the imagination to take these crazy inventors seriously. Lesson number four is accept help from strange quarters. After dozens and dozens of successful flights, the brothers were still being ignored by the media. The person who changed this was not at all what you would expect. He didn't write for the Washington Post, the New York Times, or the Associated Press. He was Amos Root, a deeply religious man who shared his thoughts through his company's trade journal, Gleanings in Bee Culture. Yes, Root's company sold beekeeping supplies, and he had a personal interest in human flight. Root had been persistent in reaching out to the brothers and asking for permission to witness their tests. He was there the first time they flew their machine in a complete circle. Amos Root wrote about this achievement in his beekeeping publication and sent a copy to the editor of Scientific American, who, you guessed it, ignored the news. So lesson five is don't be surprised when your breakthrough isn't actually your breakthrough. Word was trickling out, but the key word here is trickling. There was some communication with the US and French governments and with private investors, but the brothers were still pretty much on their own, struggling to keep their endeavor moving forward. Their tests continued to advance. Instead of flying, say, 1,000 feet, the duration of their test flights rose to 11, 12, and 15 miles. Lesson number six is to tolerate failure, but avoid disaster. The brothers had one cardinal rule that served them well. They never flew together. In the event of a fatal crash, they did not want their program to die. If one of them survived, the initiative could still continue. In 1906, Scientific American took notice and published a series about the brothers' efforts. The patent they applied for in 1903 was granted in 1906. The brothers had succeeded, but only because they kept going when the world was too preoccupied to recognize the wisdom and importance of their efforts. The last lesson to learn from the Wright brothers is to always test. The Wright brothers didn't sit in an office and dream. They didn't create a PowerPoint and pitch an unformed idea. They went out into the field, literally, and tested their prototypes, risking their lives in the process. Success eventually came because they built something of value that the world needed, even if the world didn't recognize it yet. So test your ideas, prove your theories, and make people understand. Thanks.